to another video. My name is Kathleen if you are new, and here we talk about all things bookish. And for today's video, I'm going to be jumping in to my fall TBR and sharing with you some of the books that I want to make sure that I read and that I get into this fall, if at all possible. So let's jump into it. So first, we're going to talk about my priority reads, the books that I definitely have plans and designs to focus on reading this fall, starting with mystery thriller. So let's talk about the ones that I'm pulling off of my physical TBR that I want to make sure that I read over the fall. So first we have Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica. I really enjoy reading from Mary Kubica. I read a total of 3 books by her before, and I really do, for the most part, enjoy her work, enjoy her mystery thrillers. I think she does such a phenomenal job of doing like domestic thrillers. So I'm excited to read this one. So the synopsis says, Jake Hayes is missing. This much is certain. At first, his wife Nina thinks he is blowing off steam at a friend's house after their heated fight the night before. But then a day goes by, 2 days, 5, and Jake is still nowhere to be found. Lily Scott, Nina's friend and co-worker, thinks she may have been the last to see Jake before he went missing. After Lily confesses everything to her husband, Christian, the two decide that nobody can find out what happened leading up to Jake's disappearance, especially not Nina. But Nina is out there looking for her husband, and she won't stop until the truth is discovered. So that sounds quite interesting. Can't wait to get into it. We have The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. I haven't read from Megan Miranda before, but I just saw her. I saw a couple of booktubers and book content creators mention her, specifically this novel, and it sounded kind of interesting. So I am looking forward to exploring her work and reading my first Megan Miranda book. So the synopsis says, a decade ago, 2 vans filled with high school seniors on a school service trip crashed into a Tennessee ravine. Only 9 survived. A year later, after one of the survivors dies by suicide on the anniversary of the crash, the rest of them make a pact to come together each year to commemorate that terrible night. But by the 10th anniversary, Cassidy Bent has distanced herself from the tragedy. This year, she is determined to finally break ties with the group once and for all. But when Cassidy receives an anonymous text with the obituary of another survivor, she finds herself going to the reunion once more. Tensions immediately run high, and with the storm approaching, the group finds itself facing the threat of closed roads and surging waters. Again. When another survivor suddenly disappears, Cassidy begins to wonder if something stronger than survivor's guilt has drawn them back together. So this definitely sounds interesting, and I'm looking forward to finally reading this book and seeing what it's about, as it's been on my physical TBR and my TBR cart for quite some time. Next we have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, which was his release in 2024. And yeah, I want to go ahead and jump into reading this book. I tend to have a good time with Riley Sager's mystery thrillers and his novels. I know that this one in particular, though, it wasn't very well received, with people not liking it. And I've already started reading it, and so far it is a different speed from his normal work or his work that he's done prior. We do have a male protagonist in this story as opposed to the typical female protagonist, but I still can see Sager's writing style. Even though it's kind of different, it's taken a little bit of a switch up, but I'm still enjoying it. I still like it. I can still see these suspenseful elements. I'm liking the way that it's starting off in the beginning, and I can't wait to finish it. So far, so good. And the synopsis for this says, the worst thing to ever happen on Hemlock Circle occurred in Ethan Marsh's backyard. One July night, 10-year-old Ethan and his best friend and neighbor, Billy, fell asleep in a tent set up on a manicured lawn in a quiet, quaint New Jersey cul-de-sac. In the morning, Ethan woke up alone. During the night, someone had sliced the tent open with a knife and taken Billy. He was never seen again. 30 years later, Ethan has reluctantly returned to his childhood home. Plagued by bad dreams and insomnia, he begins to notice strange things happening in the middle of the night. Someone seems to be roaming the cul-de-sac at odd hours, and signs of Billy's presence keep appearing in Ethan's backyard. Is someone playing a cruel prank, or has Billy, long thought to be dead, somehow return to Hemlock Circle. The mysterious occurrences prompt Ethan to investigate what really happened that night, a quest that reunites him with former friends and neighbors and leads him into the woods that surround Hemlock Circle, woods where Billy claimed ghosts roamed and where a mysterious institute does clandestine research on a crumbling estate. The closer Ethan gets to the truth, the more he realizes that no place, be it quiet forest or suburban street, is completely safe, and that the past has a way of haunting the present. So, like I said, so far it's quite interesting, and I'm starting to get my theories, and I'm enjoying this so far, and yeah, definitely can't wait to continue reading it. So we have The Hunting Wives by May Cobb, and I have read from May Cobb before, and I really enjoy her writing style, and I really enjoy her writing. She writes these really dramatic, kind of wild stories, and it's just, it's full of drama, and I love it. I'm reading The Hunting Wives because, if you do or do not know, she does have this on Netflix as a show, and I watched the first episode, but I really like to read books before I enjoy the film or series adaptations. So I'm definitely going to make sure that I read this pretty soon so that I can dive back into the series and see how it is and enjoy all of that. So the synopsis for this says, Sophie O'Neill left behind an envy-inspiring career and a stressful, competitive life of big city Chicago to settle down with her husband and young son in a small Texas town. It seems like the perfect life with a beautiful home in an idyllic rural community. But Sophie soon realizes that life is now too quiet, and she's feeling bored and restless. Then she meets Margot Banks, an alluring socialite who is part of an elite clique secretly known as the Hunting Wives. Sophie is completely drawn to Margot and swept into her mysterious world of late-night target practice and dangerous partying. As Sophie's curiosity gives way to full-blown obsession, she slips further away from the safety of her family and deeper into the nest of vipers. When the body of a teenage girl is discovered in the woods where the Hunting Wives meet, Sophie finds herself in the middle of a murder investigation and her life spirals out of control. So this, I am certain, will prove to be a delicious, fun time. Next up, we have King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby that I definitely want to get into this fall. I do have All the Sinners Bleed, which I am also wanting to read, and there's another one. I can't think of the name of the other one, but I do want to read that one as well. But we will see what happens. So the synopsis for this one says, Roman Carruthers left the smoke and fire of his family's crematory business behind in his hometown of Jefferson Run, Virginia. He is enjoying a life of shallow excess as a financial advisor in Atlanta until he gets a call from his sister, Neva, telling him their father is in a coma after a hit-and-run accident. When Roman goes home, he learns the accident may not be what it seems. His brother Dante is deeply in debt to dangerous, ruthless criminals, and Roman is willing to do anything to protect his family. Anything. A financial whiz with a head for numbers and a talent for making his clients rich, Roman must use all his skills to try to save his family while dealing with the shadow that has haunted them all for 20 years. The disappearance of their mother, when Roman and his siblings were teenagers. It's a mystery that Neva, who has sacrificed so much of her life to hold her family together, is determined to solve once and for all. As fate and chance and heartache ignite their lives, the Carruthers family must pull together to survive or see their lives turn to ash. Because as their father counseled them for birth, nothing lasts forever, everything burns. So this is going to be, I just know this is going to be this is a 5-star prediction. I know this is going to be 5 stars. I know they're going to follow up and become obsessed with S.A. Cosby, and I just can't wait for these things to happen. So can't wait. And the last mystery thriller that I definitely am prioritizing reading this fall is 6 Days in Bombay by Alka Joshi. This is one of the first books that I got from Book of the Month Club, and I definitely need to start reading up my Book of the Month Club books. So the synopsis for this says, when renowned painter Mira Novak arrives at Wadia Hospital in Bombay after a miscarriage, she's expected to make a quick recovery, and her nurse Sona is excited to learn more about the vivacious artist who shares her half-Indian identity. Sona, yearning for a larger life, finds herself carried away by Mira's stories of her travels and exploits, and is shocked by accounts of the many lovers the painter has left scattered throughout Europe. When Mira dies quite suddenly and mysteriously, Sona falls under suspicion, and her quiet life is upended. The key to proving Sona's innocence may lie in a cryptic note and 4 paintings Mira left in her care, sending the young woman on a mission to visit the painter's former friends and lovers across a tumultuous Europe, teetering toward war. On the precipice of discovering her own identity, Sona learns that the painter's charming facade hid a far more complicated, troubled soul. So this sounds lovely. I definitely cannot wait to get into this one. So next up we have horror, and I have a pretty small stack of books from the horror selection, and I do have one library hold that is more of like a fantasy paranormal, so I guess I'll include that in this category. But I do have plans to do the second edition of the Genre Jump horror for the fall, and kind of explore a couple more horror novels, but I haven't added that to my fall TBR. But I do have plans that are books that are not part of the stack. So just for full transparency, that's kind of what I have going on in my head behind the scenes. But these are definitely the books that I'm prioritizing to read during the fall when it comes to horror. So first up we have the new novella kind of double special collector's edition by Stephen Graham Jones, which is The Killer on the Road and The Babysitter Lives. These are essentially 2 of, I believe, Stephen Graham Jones' popular novellas, and they're kind of put together in this collector's edition, and I cannot wait to read them, of course. Up we have Natural Beauty by Ling Huang. I am going to be doing a author taste test blog for Ling Huang where I read both of her books, and Natural Beauty is her debut novel, and I'm going to be reading this. I have heard amazing things about this novel, and I cannot wait to dive into it and read it. The synopsis says, our narrator produces a sound from the piano no one else at the conservatory can. She employs a technique she learned from her parents, also talented musicians, who fled China in the wake of the Cultural Revolution. But when an accident leaves her parents debilitated, she abandons her future for a job at a high-end beauty and wellness spa shop in New York City. The store, Holistique, is known for its remarkable products and procedures, from remoras that suck out cheap Botox to eyelash extensions made of spider silk, and her new job affords her entry into a world of privilege and gives her a long-awaited sense of belonging. She becomes transfixed by Helen, the niece of Holistique's charismatic owner, and the two strike up a friendship that hazily veers into more. All the while, our narrator is plied with products that slim her thighs, smooth her skin, and lighten her hair. But beneath those creams and tinctures lies something sinister. I definitely want to read this as a person who works in the spa and wellness industry. I've been an esthetician for over 10 years. So I want to hear the social commentary of what she has to say about beauty, and about the different links that we will go to when it comes to achieving beauty and kind of like elongating our youth and defying aging. I would love to hear her thoughts on that, and I hear that this is a really good book that has some really interesting commentary on those topics, so I'm looking forward to reading this. And next up we have the second book that I'm going to be reading in the author taste test for Ling Huang, which is Immaculate Conception. This is her newest release. I think this came back in May or June. One of those 2 months this was released, and I got it through the Aardvark Book Club, and I'm quite excited to read this one, even though this is kind of a genre bender as it is kind of pitched and put in as horror, but it has some kind of science fiction and speculative aspects to the story, and I'm very interested to see what this is all about. So the synopsis says, Inca meets Mathilde in art school and is instantly drawn to her. Mathilde makes art that feels truly original, and Inca, trying hard to prove herself in this fiercely competitive world, pours everything into their friendship. But when Mathilde's fame and success cause her to begin to drift away, Inca becomes desperate to keep her close. Enter Scaffold. Purported to enhance empathy, this cutting-edge technology could follow Inca to inhabit Matilda's mind and access her memories, artistic inspirations, and deep-seated trauma. Undergoing this procedure would link Inca and Matilda forever, but at what cost? So this sounds very trippy, and I am looking forward to diving into this novel this fall. Another Aardvark Book Club pick, which is Salt Bones by Jennifer Givhan, and I saw this and I thought the cover was immaculate. It's giving these spooky, haunting vibes, and I thought the synopsis and the premise for the story was also quite interesting. So the synopsis says, Melamar Veracruz has never left the dust-choked town of El Valle. Here, Mal has done her best to build a good life. She's raised 2 children, worked hard, and tried to forget the painful, unexplained disappearance of her sister Elena. But when another local girl goes missing, Mal plunges into a fresh yet familiar nightmare. As a desperate Mal hunts for answers, her search becomes increasingly tangled with inscrutable visions of a horse-headed woman, a legend locals called I cannot speak Spanish. La Cinguanaba. I may be pronouncing that wrong, who Mal feels compelled to follow. Mal's perspective is joined by the voices of her 2 daughters, and the 3 of them must work to uncover the truth about the missing girls and their community before it's too late. So it says that this is combining elements of Latina and indigenous cultures, family drama, mystery, horror, and magical realism. So this sounds right up my alley, and I'm definitely excited about diving into this one. Lastly, this one is not really horror, but it's more of a fantasy, kind of paranormal, since we're kind of talking about vampires in this one. But this is the new release by V.E. Schwab, Burial Bones in the Midnight Soil, that everyone has been talking about, and I've been seeing so many videos of people reading this book and giving their opinions and take. And from what I've been seeing, it's a bit divisive. It's a little polarizing. There are some people that love this and swear by this, and other people that are not so into it. It does have, I think, like a 4.59 or a 4.09 on Goodreads, so it's rated really highly. It's getting good reviews, but I'm just interested in seeing what I think about all of this. So this would be my first book by V.E. Schwab. I do own The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I haven't read it as of yet, but this is going to be my first time reading or exploring her work. And the synopsis for this says, this is a story about hunger. 1532, Santo Domingo de la Calzada. Again, I don't speak Spanish, so I could be saying that wrong. A young girl grows up wild and wily. Her beauty is only outmatched by her dreams of escape. But Maria knows she can only ever be a prize or a pawn in the games played by men. When an alluring stranger offers an alternate path, Maria makes a desperate choice. She vows to have no regrets. This is a story about love. 1827 London. A young woman lives an idyllic but cloistered life on her family's estate until a moment of forbidden intimacy sees her shipped off to London. Charlotte's tender heart and seemingly impossible wishes are swept away by an invitation from a beautiful widow, but the price of freedom is higher than she could have imagined. This is a story about rage. 2019 Boston. College was supposed to be her chance to be someone new. That's why Alice moved halfway across the world, leaving her old life behind. But after an out-of-character one-night stand leaves her questioning her past, her present, and her future, Alice throws herself into the hunt for answers and revenge. So we're following, it seems like 3 different women, 3 different, I guess they're going to be vampires, and kind of their origin stories and how this transition into vampirism kind of alters them and changes them as they reflect on their life. This is all that I'm imagining, what I'm guessing from what I've heard other people mention, and just from the synopsis itself, the vibes that it's giving. I am quite eager to read this. I love vampire stories. I love vampire lore. I love seeing people have fresh or different takes or approaches to vampirism, and I'm quite eager to see what Miss V. Schwab has to say and to experiment and play with her writing style and just see what she's about. So can't wait to get into this one. Next up, we have some series I'm definitely wanting to get into in fall. So let's talk about the fantasy series I'm going to be getting into. So first up, we have Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I did read One Dark Window quite a while back, but again, this is more of a gothic story, and it has and it gives all of these lovely gothic vibes, and I just didn't feel right reading it in the spring and the summer, because I'm very much a seasonal reader. I'm not really a mood reader. I'm more of a seasonal reader, meaning when a book is set in a particular season or it gives a particular vibe that I kind of associate with a particular season, I have to read it during that time of the year, or I just don't, it doesn't give the same. So that is why I'm making it a point to read Two Twisted Crowns for the fall. And I'm not going to share the synopsis for this because it would spoil the first story, of course. Next up, we have another kind of gothic fantasy series. This is a young adult fantasy series, the Belladonna series by Adalyn Grace, and this is the second installment of that series, Foxglove. Yeah, definitely want to get back into Foxglove and get back into the Belladonna series, as I had such a wonderful time reading Belladonna. It was such a vibey book, and it really did set the tone and set the pace for the fall season last year when I read it. I ate it up, and I can't wait to get back into this series again, into this world, as it finished off on a very fascinating cliffhanger. So yeah, I'm quite anxious to dive back into it and see what is going down in this world, and hopefully wrap up this series before the end of the year, but we'll see what happens with that. Okay, so we have another series on my TBR that I'm putting on here, but I don't know about my feelings on even reading or talking about this series or even mentioning it, because it's one of those series that, and one of those authors that's kind of low-key problematic, and that there's a little bit of discourse around her, and that is the Crave series by Tracy Wolff. I think she was accused of, I can't remember right now, I've read about it and I've seen videos about it, but I think she was accused of plagiarism, or not plagiarism, she was accused of stealing someone's work and publishing it under her name, her and her editor publishing this person's work under her name and taking the credit for it. And I just wanted to read this to see what it was about, not just because I know that this came out around the time of Twilight, and people love to crap on this series about how horrible it is. And I just kind of wanted to read it and take a very analytical and critical look at it and see what it was trying to say and like what it was trying to do and how it was indicative of that time, and dig into it. So let me know if you would be interested in seeing that. Let me know if I should even waste my time. Let me know if this is just an author that I shouldn't even talk about, I shouldn't even like push. Just let me know your thoughts, because this is the series that I wanted to start. Yeah, I'm not even gonna read the synopsis, just let me know, like, what's what. Next up, we have The Merciless Ones by Namina Forna, which is book 2 in the Deathless series. I read The Gilded Ones earlier this year, and I fell in love with it. I love Deca. I love the world that Namina Forna crafted. It was so fascinating. I love the representation, because we have young Black females featured in this story and on the cover of this book. And young 14, 15-year-old me was so gagged when I saw this novel. I felt so seen and she was so like, yes, finally. So I'm diving back into this series. I'm so excited to do so. Everything in The Gilded Ones book 1, it was phenomenal. It wrapped up quite well, but I know that we're going to revisit, and there's going to be some things that are happening, and that there were some kind of open things that we need to kind of like fully flesh out, and to learn more about this world and about the situation, about what's going on with these characters as they continue to grow and as this world continues to expand. And I'm looking forward to getting back into that, because this was such a good one. Another YA series. This is book 2 in the Ember and the Ashes Quartet. This is A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. I loved An Ember in the Ashes. It was a very dark story. I loved that Sabaa Tahir does not mind inflicting some pain onto her characters, and that she really doesn't hold her punches, and that she is very raw and goes in deep. She explores and excavates like topics in such a fascinating way. She knows how to create emotion and how to capture your attention, create a very immersive world, and just hold you hostage emotionally, really, truly, truly. And I cannot wait to dive back into this world and see what is happening with Laya and Elias. So that is what I'm planning to read this fall as well. And lastly, saving one of my best and my favorite for last, it would be diving back into the Legendborn Cycle series and reading Oathbound. So yeah, I finished Bloodmark sometime in the spring, and it was a doozy for me, and I had to step back from the series because I was really finding myself so emotionally invested, and to the point of it put me in kind of a book hangover, and it kind of affected my mental health a little bit there, because I really feel so connected to Bree. Like I said, I feel like the young teenage me that is like still healing and processing things connects so much with Bree. And yeah, so I had to take a step back. And then by the time that I was like interested in potentially reading it again, it was like spring and summer, and this does not give spring summer vibes. It will forever give fall winter vibes. So this is going to be on my list to finally get caught up on this series for the fall. And I'm quite anxious to do so, but also a little bit nervous because I hear that this leads on a bit of a cliffhanger, and we don't know when we are going to get the next book, which would be the 4th book. So yeah, it's gonna be a bittersweet thing, but I'm excited and looking forward to catching up on this series. Next up, we have some sci-fi, speculative fiction, dystopian books that I want to get into. But these are the books that I have on my TBR that I want to prioritize reading for the fall. First up, we have Awake in the Floating City by Susanna Kwan, which I have started and I had to put down because I got caught up with reading other books. But this was such a fascinating story. It seems like it's going to be a very emotional and poignant story, and very thought-provoking. It has like a very much a literary feel to it. So the synopsis says, Bo knows she should go. Years of rain have drowned the city, and almost everyone else has fled. Her mother was carried away in a storm surge, and ever since, Bo has been alone. She is stalled. An artist unable to make art. A daughter unable to give up the hope that her mother may still be alive. Half-heartedly, she allows her cousin to plan for her escape. But as the departure day approaches, she finds a note slipped under her door from Mia, an elderly woman who lives in her building and wants to hire Bo to be her caregiver. Suddenly, Bo has a reason to stay. Mia can be prickly, and yet still, she and Bo forge a connection deeper than any Bo has had with a client. Mia shares stories of her life that pull Bo back toward art, toward the practice she thought she'd abandoned. Listening to Mia, allowing her memories to become entangled with Bo's own, she's struck by how much history will be lost as the city gives way to water. Then, Mia's health turns, and Bo determines to honor their disappearing world and this woman who's brought her back to it, a project that teaches her the lessons that matter most. How to care, how to be present, and how to commemorate a life and a place soon to be lost forever. Yeah, if this sounds like I'm gonna cry. I'm probably gonna cry reading this, but bring it on. Next up, we have this book, These Memories Do Not Belong to Us by Yiming Ma, that I saw someone talking about, I don't remember who, and they were explaining it and how they were enjoying it, and I was like, immediately yes. And I put it on hold in my library, and my hold recently became due, and I'm excited to read this. So the synopsis says, in a far-off future ruled by the Qin Empire, every citizen is fitted with a mind bank, an intracranial device capable of recording and transmitting memories between minds. This technology gives birth to memory capitalism, where anyone with means can relive the life experience of others. it also unleashes opportunities for manipulation. Memories can be edited, marketed, and even corrupted for personal gain. After the sudden passing of his mother, an unnamed narrator inherits a collection of banned memories from her mind bank, so dangerous that even possessing them places his freedom in jeopardy. Traversing genres, empires, and millennia, they are tales of sumo wrestlers and social activists, armless swimmers and watchmakers struggling amid the backdrop of Keen's ascent toward global dominance. Determined to release his mother's memories to the world before they are destroyed forever, the narrator will risk everything, even if the cost is his own life. Does this not sound like it's going to be a very captivating story that has a lot to say? I think so. I'm here for it. We have The Poppy Fields by Nikki Erlich, which is her newest release that was released back in, I do believe, June. And I'm so excited to read this. I am beside myself as a fan of the fan of The Measure, and I got the collector's edition for my birthday. I really love her work. She's just, even though she's not a well-established author, she's only had now 2 works under her belt, something about her clicks for me. The synopsis for this is, welcome to the Poppy Fields, where there's hope for even the most battered hearts to heal. Here, in a remote stretch of the California desert, lies a controversial and experimental treatment center that allows those suffering from the heartache of loss to sleep through their pain, and keep on sleeping. After patients awaken from this prolonged state of slumber, they will finally be healed, but only if they're willing to accept the potential shadowy side effect. On a journey to this mystical destination are 4 very different strangers and 1 little dog. Ava, a book illustrator, Ray, a fireman, Sasha, an occupational therapist, Sky, a free spirit, and a friendly pup named PJ. As they attempt to make their way from the Midwest all the way out to the Poppy Fields, where they hope to find Ellis, the center's brilliant, enigmatic founder, each of their past secrets and mysterious motivations threatens to derail their voyage. So yeah, I can't wait to see what Miss Nikki Erlich has to say in her latest novel. All right, friends. So my favorite genre of fiction, which for me, when I say fiction, it encompasses all the subgenres, from historical fiction, literary fiction, contemporary fiction, women's fiction, all of it. The first book being Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. I recently read my first Charmaine Wilkerson back in the spring, which was Good Dirt, and that novel was amazing. Ebby is by far probably my favorite character of the year, because she is just to me the epitome of what I hope that I can be and that I can become, and just the way that she lives her life, the way that she handles her trauma, the way that she is so adamant in the pursuit of her healing journey. Love that book, love that character, and loved the writing, loved it. And this is Black Cake that I heard about her, and I was like, say less, I want to read it. I want to read Black Cake. I really want to be a Charmaine Wilkerson stan. So I'm going to be reading this fall. And the synopsis for this says, in present-day California, Eleanor Bennett's death leaves behind a puzzling inheritance for her 2 children, Byron and Benny, a traditional Caribbean black cake made from a family recipe with a long history, and a voice recording. In her message, Eleanor shares a tumultuous story about a headstrong young swimmer who escapes her island home under suspicion of murder. The heartbreaking tale Eleanor unfolds, the secrets she still holds back, and the mystery of a long-lost child challenge everything the siblings thought they knew about their lineage and themselves. Can Byron and Benny reclaim their once close relationship, piece together Eleanor's true history, and fulfill her final request to share the black cake when the time is right? Will their mother's revelations bring them back together or leave them feeling more lost than ever? Yeah, this has everything that I like. It is like a family saga. Sounds like it's going to be a multi-generational family saga. You know, sign me up for that. And it seems like it's this, I think this is more of like maybe a historical fiction, like, I don't know. Sign me up. Can't wait to read it. Up we have My Name is Emilia de Valle by Isabel Allende. I love Isabel Allende. I read Violetta last year, and that was such a beautiful novel. I love the rich history. I love the way that that character just like spoke to me, how she felt so palpable and real. Like I could walk out my door and go find her and have a cup of coffee with her and just talk about life. So I'm excited to be reading my second Isabel Allende novel. This is her most recent release, which I think it was released back in May or June, I'm not sure, but this is definitely released in 2025 and I have to get my hands on it. I started it a little bit, but again, I kind of got carried away with summer activities. I got carried away with life, and yeah, I need to get back into it and finish this novel, and yeah, I'm excited to do so. The synopsis says, in San Francisco in 1866, an Irish nun, abandoned following a torrid relationship with a Chilean aristocrat, gives birth to a daughter named Emilia de Valle. Raised by a loving stepfather, Emilia grows into an independent thinker and a self-sufficient young woman. To pursue her passion for writing, she is willing to defy societal norms. At the age of 17, she begins to publish pulp fiction using a man's pen name. When these fictional worlds can no longer satisfy her sense of adventure, she turns to journalism, convincing an editor at the Daily Examiner to hire her. There, she is paired with another talented reporter, Eric Whalen. As she proves herself, her restlessness returns until an opportunity arises to cover a brewing civil war in Chile. She seizes it, as does Eric, and while there, she meets her estranged father and delves into the violent confrontation in the country where her roots lie. As she and Eric discover love, the war escalates, and Emilia finds herself in extreme danger, fearing for her life and questioning her identity and her destiny. So, God, this sounds so good, and from what I'm reading so far, it is good and it's phenomenal. The writing style is always on point. Gosh, I cannot wait to get back into this and finish this one up because I know it's going to be amazing and I'm probably going to cry. So yeah, can't wait to finish this one up, friends. So let's chat about the books that are my honorable mentions, and that if by some stroke of luck I can possibly dive into these books over the fall season, I will. And first up we have, I need to finish or continue the Filthy Rich Fae series by Geneva Lee and read the second book, Fallen Court, which was released back in the spring. And yeah, this was such a phenomenal book and a great experience. I didn't expect to love it so much and have a good time with it. Got it on a whim at the library, tried it out, had to buy it, and now I'm like in too deep to turn back. I really loved the way that everything wrapped up. It wrapped up on a cliffhanger, so I'm really anxious to get back into this world. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I do have a reading blog where I was reading the first book in this Filthy Rich Fae. So if you want to kind of see my thoughts and what I was thinking about when I first read that novel, my experiences, definitely go check out that reading blog. But I can't wait to read the second book, and hopefully I'll be able to get to it this fall and that I'm like really consistent with my reading this fall. I'll be able to get to it. Next up we have another book in another series that I love, the second book in it, and that is Caught Up by Navessa Allen. So this is a standalone series where we're kind of seeing different couples within this dark romance series, with Lights Out being the first book that took the world by storm. Was that my dog? I'm so sorry, my dog was coughing and it scared me. But yeah, so this is the second book in the Into Darkness series, I think. Yeah, an Into Darkness series. But I saw how this was getting very poor reviews, where people were not enjoying this, people weren't liking this, they thought that this was boring. It didn't hold a candle to Lights Out. So I'm a little nervous, but also I typically have different opinions and different experiences with books other people do. And I will hopefully get to this over the fall, and maybe I can do a video where I kind of share my thoughts and my experience with this one and give some insight or something fun like that. But yeah, Can't wait to get in this one. Next up, we have The Savior's Champion by Jenna Morikai, and this is by an indie author that I used to follow a lot back in the day. And I saw this at my library and they said it was a new book. And I was like, what do you mean a new book? It's been out forever. But it put it back on my radar and I do want to read this. Hopefully I'll be able to get a chance to dive into it. The synopsis for this, though, says Tobias Kaya doesn't care about the Savior. He doesn't care that she's a ruler of the realm or that she purified the land. And he certainly doesn't care that she's of age to be married. But when competing for her hand proves to be his last chance to save his family, he's forced to make the Savior his priority. Now, Tobias is thrown into the Sovereign's tournament with 19 other men, and each of them is fighting and killing for the chance to rule at the Savior's side. Instantly, his world is plagued with violence, treachery, and manipulation, revealing the hidden ugliness of his proud realm. And when his circumstances seem especially dire, he stumbles into an unexpected romance, one that opens him up to unimaginable dangers and darkness. So this sounds like it's going to be a very, very good time. And the last book for my honorable mentions for my fall TBR is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am a fairly huge Taylor Jenkins Reid fan, as she was one of the first authors that I started diving back into when I was a returning reader and I started back reading. So I'm pretty anxious to read her newest release and see what it is all about. I've heard lots of good things. So the synopsis says, Joan Goodwin has been obsessed with the stars for as long as she can remember. She is content with her life as a professor of physics and astronomy and as aunt to her precocious niece, Frances, until she comes across an advertisement seeking the first women scientist to join NASA's space shuttle program. Suddenly, Joan burns to be one of the few people to go to space. Selected from a pool of thousands of applicants in the summer of 1980, Joan begins training at Houston's Johnson Space Center alongside an exceptional group of fellow candidates. Top Gun pilot Hank Redmond and scientist John Griffin. Easygoing even when the stakes are high, mission specialist Lydia Danes, who has worked too hard to play nice. Warm-hearted Donna Fitzgerald, navigating her own secrets, and Vanessa Ford, the magnetic and mysterious aeronautical engineer who can fix any engine and fly any plane. As they become unlikely friends and prepare for their first flights, Joan finds a love she never imagined. In this new light, Joan begins to question everything she thinks she knows about her place in the observable universe. Then, in December of 1984, on mission STS-LR9, it all changes in an instant. So this sounds amazing. I wonder if she was influenced by, I can't think of the one astronaut's name, and if this was probably built off of that, or being influenced by her story. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this and diving into this for the fall, hopefully if I can get around to it. So that wraps up this video. Those are all the books that I am hoping to dive into and read over the fall season. Let me know what are some of your must-read books for the fall. What are your favorite genres to dive into the fall? Let me know, and let's talk about it in the comments below. Also, make sure you sign up for my newsletter if you are wanting to get some advice on how to diversify your TBR and read more diversely. If you're looking to dive a little bit deeper when it comes to the different books that you read, definitely make sure that you sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to leave the link in the description box. And until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye.